Amani na Salamu, peace and greetings, kings and queens, my brothers and sisters. It is Thursday, the 28th of March, 2024, and I am here to share my insight on today's topic, which is parenting. One of the most, it can be one of the most rewarding and trying, and it can be difficult. It doesn't have to be, but it can be. Um, Job, position that you could ever have in life, and the most rewarding at the same time. Okay. So today's topic is, have you seen my parents? And some of what I want to discuss is being a single parent and the difference between co parenting and bogarting, uh, having a relationship, and that relationship, it's an extended family where there's children that you are not the parent of, whether you are in a relationship with someone that doesn't have children, but you have children, or you both have children and you're coming into a relationship, whether it's a long term relationship or a marriage. I want to talk about the narrative that we have that, or some people have, that fathers cannot raise daughters and mothers cannot raise sons. And what it meant to, when we used to hear the old saying, it takes a village to raise a child. Are we really doing that? Are we really coming together as a community, whether we are blood or not, to really raise children, to really make sure our youth are well? Okay. So, have you seen my parents? The first point I wanted to make, or the first part that I wanted to discuss about parenting, is being a single parent and co parenting. When you are a single parent, you're not always a single parent because things didn't just work out between you and your partner. Sometimes it can be a death of the other parent. Sometimes it could just be distance. But co parenting is about you meeting the other person halfway. If you are not even meeting them halfway, then you don't have the right to call them a deadbeat. Your beat is dead too, if you're not even willing to meet the parent halfway. If you are the parent that the child lives with, that's not always by choice. Sometimes it's by default, or by force, but it's not always by choice. And just because you're the parent that is there doesn't make you the better parent. Parents can be present and still not be active. I've seen parents that are not present, meaning they don't live in the household, but they're more active than some parents who are actually in the household. I know situations where both parents are in the household and they can be horrible parents, but they're both present. So presence doesn't equal quality, nor does it equal you being active. Okay. And because you are the present parent doesn't make you the better parent. How many times have judges sent children to homes where there was abuse or sent them to foster care? So sometimes judges don't even seem to be concerned about the well being of children. Sometimes they don't listen to what the children have to say if they're old enough to speak for themselves. And oftentimes, judges can be just like some parents. They're doing what they do, and that's their job, out of their emotions. It may be a judge who's a bitter woman, so she's doing her best to try to prove to the father, I'm going to show you what it's like to suffer. Or a male judge who feels like children should always be with their mothers, even though children need their mothers and their fathers. Okay? So co parenting is about you cooperating, not bogarting, not manipulating the other parent, not living and moving from your emotions. You're angry with the other parent for whatever reason, but my mother used to always say, be careful what you say about your exes because at one point in your life you thought they were your everything. And I always say, be careful what you say about your exes because at one time they were your O, your ooh, and your ah. So you made a choice to be intimate with this person, whether it was in the back seat of a car, whether it was you laid down with them, whether you stood up, you kept your clothes on, however you did it, you made a child together. And that child deserves to have both of their parents in their lives. And unless you are willing to meet the other parent halfway, You don't get to call them a deadbeat. Meeting halfway means I'm going to do everything I can on my end so that it can't ever be said that I didn't do my very best for the sake of our child. When it's really about the child, your feelings and your emotions are not involved. And oftentimes, as parents, we say it's about the child, but everything that we do is based off of our feelings and how we feel about the other person, the other parent, and not what's best for the child. The other point I wanted to make is, again, children need both of their parents, and being present doesn't make you the better parent. It just means you're present and doing what children need and doing what, making sure they have shelter, even though you live there, making sure they have clothes, even though you're buying yourself clothes, making sure they're eating while you're sitting down at the dinner table eating too. Those are not extra. That doesn't take extra work. You're doing that for yourself as well. So you don't get a pat on the back for that. Those are things you should be doing, you know? And we often say that about men, but a lot of women feel like, I do and I do. You're doing what you should be doing, my sister. You don't get accolades for making sure the child is taken care of in the same way you take care of yourself. Okay. Now, if your child is eating and you don't eat, that's a sacrifice. But if you're sitting down and feeding your child the same food that you're eating, there's no sacrifice in that. I'm giving you a portion of what I cooked. That's not a sacrifice. Okay. Know the difference. Okay. And when it comes to techniques and how we raise children, understand that just because your technique is different doesn't make it better or worse or incorrect. As long as the child is not being hurt or harmed, everyone has their own way of raising children, of teaching children. Your way may be different than the other parent, doesn't make it the better way, just makes it different. Okay? Extended families. If you have your own children and get into a relationship with someone who has children, that can be challenging. Hats off to people who fall in love in high school, get married, stay married, raise their children together. That is indeed a blessing. It's not something that we can all do. Again, people pass away, people break up, so it happens. And we don't always have the luxury of finding men and women who can step in and be a parent to our children, because a just because you're a man doesn't mean you have all the skills, the wisdom, and the knowledge to teach a little boy to be a man. Just because you're a woman doesn't mean you have the skills and knowledge to teach a little girl to be a woman. Everybody's not equipped to teach. You have to have something to teach and have something to give in order to do that. In between my first marriage and my second marriage, my son was attached to one particular man that I dated, and he taught him a lot of things I didn't want him to learn. Okay. So just because a man may be in your child's life doesn't mean they always teach them what will honor them the most. Okay. So let's not get caught up in, well, all men know how to raise boys and all women know how to raise girls. Or if you are a single father raising women or raising a girl, it doesn't mean that the woman that you may be in a relationship with is equipped to teach your daughter anything. And we don't all have the luxury of having men or women in our lives that can step in and do that. The best thing you can do is be the best parent that you can be, period. Girls and boys need their fathers and their mothers. If you are in an extended family, just understand that because you are in a relationship with someone or getting to know someone, doesn't mean your children are going to like that person or that they have to like them. They can be respectful, but they don't have to like them. This is someone that you're in a relationship with. And children who have active parents in their lives and their parents are not together, they resent sometimes people coming into their lives and trying to be or take the place of their mother or their father. What we have to do is make sure we get to know that individual well first before we start allowing them to be in our children's lives. Some of the mistakes I think single women make and some single people make is introducing people to our children too early. Give yourself time to get to know that person. Just because you're playing footsie with them at night doesn't mean your children have to like them. And people oftentimes will come into a situation where there's children involved and feel like they have to come in and take over. Well, I'm here now. This is how we're going to do things. Can you imagine being a 6 or 7 year old child and your parent who's always there allows another person to come in and discipline you in a way that your parent wasn't, and that parent steps back and lets them do it, that's terrifying for someone that you don't know as a child to come in and start disciplining you or start talking to you the way that your parent wasn't talking to you, start handling you in a way that you're not accustomed to. That's terrifying, especially to have your parent, your mother or your father, stand back and let it happen, stand back and watch. Get to know people first before you bring them around your children, and don't assume that they know what to do just because they have children of their own and just because they want to be with you. Again, just because you may enjoy their company doesn't mean your children will like them or have to like them. Okay? People can be good partners or be really amazing partners, but not be great parents. And just because you and another person separate, maybe they weren't a good husband or a good wife or a good friend or a good confidant or a protector, but they're still a good parent and they still deserve the right to be a parent. Okay? Shout out to my cousin Dot and cousin my cousin Dot and my cousin Skip, who are married, who met, who married, and who stayed together all these years and raised their son, my cousin Victor, together. Shout out to the Beverly family who met in high school, Wesley and my dear sister Trish, who met in high school, got married, still together, and are raising their children together. There's nothing better than that to me. Unfortunately, it doesn't always work that way for all of us. And there's still a way to navigate that. But to people who get married and remain married for years and raise their children together and give their children, their sons and daughters, the best that they can for them, I think that's amazing, especially in the Black community. Hats off to you. To the narrative that fathers can't raise daughters and mothers can't raise sons. First of all, our job as parents is to teach our children the best that we can teach them, give them the best that we can. If we really thought only men could raise boys and only women could raise girls, then we would have never, in school, we would have always had female teachers for the girls and male teachers for the boys. But we had co-ed classes so that we could all learn how to intermingle and get along with one another. And we were taught by male and female teachers. Such it is in life. Okay. Men can raise girls to the best of their ability, and they may not always have women in their lives that can teach them. There's resources available. There are a lot of men that don't know certain things that you would think men should know. There are women out there that don't have interest in things that some women have interest in. Get to know people. Give your children the best that you can and use the resources that are available. They can take classes, home economics. They can take classes to learn how to budget their money and save and invest, and take classes on makeup and hair. All these things are available. Working on cars. There's some men that don't know how to work on cars. There's some women that could care less about makeup or cooking. Get people around your children that you needed around you when you were young, when you were a child, when you were a teenager, when you were a young adult. This is what we need in our community. As a community, we need to be able to step in and be for other children, whether they're blood or not, what they need. If their parents are not available, if their parents do not have the skills, they're not mentally able or physically able to take care of their children, we need to step in as families and communities and take care of our youth. Be the best parent that you can be, period, whether you are a father or a mother. Cooperate with the other parent and meet them halfway. That's what co-parenting means. Love on your children the way you want it to be loved on, because all little girls and all little boys need their mothers and their fathers. Thank you for stopping by. Be the best parent that you can be. Be well, be great, be beautiful, because you are. Most of all, be grateful and be you. Thank you for stopping by.